Hi guys, it's Amy, your golf coach. The last lesson we talked about how to lag that club. Now, if you've practiced it enough, you're gonna start experiencing too much tension in your hands to hold that leg in that angle so you can't quite release, or you are lagging beautifully but you're not quite sure when and where to start releasing that club. And also, if you start lagging really great, sometimes you go into the golf ball with an open face and you feel the glancing impact. So today I'm going to show you how to release the club correctly. That way you can master the lag and the release all at the same time so you can compress that golf ball to hit it longer and straighter. Let's get started. What is releasing the club? It happens in the downswing. In the last lesson, we worked on the lag where the hips start the downswing and then the shoulder turn happens. Hands come down, maintaining that leg angle, and then the club head swings through. Lagging happens and then the release of the club head happens. So after you lag, the toe of the club head is rotating through, so the club face is square at impact, and then it keeps turning over like that. So back in the day when I started learning golf with persimmon heads, like wood heads, I learned to lead the swing with the lead arm. So the lead forearm would rotate to flip that club through, so you'd have to time it perfectly to get that club face going square at impact every single time. Required a lot of hard work. But after approximately 10 years or so, when modern swing was really developing hardcore, then we stopped allowing players to flip through because it just wasn't under a lot of control and you're just relying on rhythm and tempo, which gets thrown off every day, right? So we started using the trail handle a little bit more so we can control that club face, toe of the face, rotate it how much ever we want, whenever we want, and compress that golf ball with a little bit more warmth and add more control to the club head and more speed to the club head, more compression and better accuracy. So we started using the trail index more, obviously, little by little, and now a lot more PGA Tour players are using their index hand. As you can see in their setup, they're really gripping those right two fingers because those two fingers are what they usually use to shape their shots. That's how important it is. That's why I emphasize core dex theory on my website. So I use the trail index and the core to really complete the swing to become solid and powerful with less effort on your body. Okay, so release is right after the lag. It's the rotation of your toe or the club head to get the club face square at impact. How do we achieve that? Like we mentioned, we no longer rely on lead forearm flipping through. We use the trail index to control the toe. Just say Aimeefied it, right? You need to know two things. You need to have full control of your trail index, trail hand, and then you need to know the post-impact position. So, impact happens, boom, right at the ball. When the club head is about 3 feet past the ball, this is where I call post-impact. When I have people work on release, after the lag happens, the club starts releasing, boom, 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 and then square, and then the club toe continues to rotate through. Everybody has different timing on when they release the wrist. People that use a lot of body and manage to stay really low in the downswing can lag a lot longer. You also have to be very strong in your grip pressure, your joints, and your muscular strength in your arms and shoulders and back. But I have pretty weak forearms and weak grip pressure, so I tend to lose the lag a lot faster than a lot of those players on the PGA Tour. My wrists are very weak. They cannot handle that much pressure when it's bowed out, so I never bow my left wrist. I will probably dislocate my wrist or injure it pretty badly if I were to beat like 1,000 balls a day bowing my wrist. So you have to know your physical limitations, physical capability, and how your swing is, how much body you're able to use. The less body you use, the more of the release, the earlier release you'll do in the downswing. Okay, so you get the concept. So you have to know how to use the trail hand. You have to know where that post impact is. Let me show you the drill. Ta-da! Just in case you can't see my index finger, I'm wearing one of these guys to kind of magnify it. So you set up with your index finger pointing at the golf ball. When you get to the top, you see the index is about 45 degrees to the ground, which is approximately the same thing as your club face angle. 45 degrees to the ground means square club face. We love that, right? So I want you to push your elbow. That's gonna help you to lag, and then you're going to go ahead and point your index finger down to the ground about 45 degrees right at the target with your index finger to the post impact position. Boom. Okay? A lot of you guys who tend to cut the ball, pull the ball, slice the ball at this position, at post impact position, tend to have the index finger, boom, back there, which leaves the club face way open at impact. Okay? So you weren't able to rotate your trail hand through to release that toe. Okay, so we don't want to see that with an open face, but we really at this point have to be pointing down about 45 degrees right of the target with your index finger. Index finger does two things we worked on setting before, right? Set the club at the top, 45-degree angle, and then point at the post impact. So after how much ever you lag, depends on the individual, then you start rotating your trail hand, but post impact usually looks the same for everybody because your toe has to be pointing slightly right at the target and then releases up this way. Okay, so if your index becomes a little bit easier to understand, then let's do it with the club in your trail hand. We're not gonna hit balls, we're not gonna hit the ground. We don't want to injure the shoulder. So we get to the top, boom, you set the club in the index like this. And then you're going to lead with the buttons of the grip and then point to the right of the target, down at the ground. So now the club almost is the same direction as your index used to be, right? Now the toe is pointing 45 degrees right at the target. That's what we want. But a lot of times who slice the ball tend to go boom, index pointed back that way with a super open club face, puts a big slice on the golf ball. Or at this point, if you're boom, pointed that way, it's the same thing. You usually go into a super opened and then you're like, oh no, it's gonna go right, and you flip and you usually end up pointing left of the target this way. So we don't want this or this, right? Set the club, 45 degrees right at the target, down to the ground is what we want. If you work on these two spots, especially the post impact, you will get that natural release of the toe going beautifully. And doing this exercise with your trail hand only, with your index, and then with the club in your hand is really going to teach you how tight you have to grip the club and how it feels to lead that release with your trail hand. If you're used to leading with your flipping with the lead hand this way, your trail hand used to always follow that lead, so it wouldn't know how to lead. Now you're training it to boom, point, boom, and your trail hand is able to start to lead the release. So it'll look something like this. Set at post impact. So after you do the drill, you'll have to go at a 30% speed and do like a small chip shot. You go boom, point, just to make sure you don't point that way, right? Once you start getting comfortable pointing the right direction with small chip shots, we're gonna go ahead and just make that swing a little bigger, half swing, and really point out that way. Avoid from pointing to the left, okay? Half swing. And once you feel that pointing post impact is more comfortable, then you're gonna go ahead and make a fuller swing. If you can please step to the side, be sure, point using your right hand. So that was lag, a lot of body into it, and then controlled release with your trail hand. Oh, thank you, Pokey. So to get that release going, understand and do this index drill to make sure you set and then point 45 degrees right at the target down to the ground, so your trail hand is able to control that club and toe of the club face to rotate it and point it to the correct spot. So really get that post impact position going right here. And then once you get used to it, grab the club, do the exact same thing. So you're giving your index a lot of pressure so it understands to have to do a certain movement and lead. And then start with a small chip shot with both hands, point to the right place, start adding bigger and bigger swings until you hit full swing. How was today's lesson, guys? I showed you an Aimeefied drill to get that release going beautifully. So if you can work on the leg and the release, now you're really gonna feel the compression and start hitting your irons longer and straighter. I will look forward to your amazing golf shots, okay? All right, well, for this winter's project, I'm going to continue to work on lengthening my distance and speeding up my club head, but eventually I will have to move on to different clubs as well, so please look forward to that. Thank you so much for golfing with me today. I'll see you in the next one. Mwah.